This is WNEM TV5 News at 11.
It should be clear that the American people care about Flint. That's the good news. The bad news is that this should not have happened in the first place.
President Obama reassures Flint his administration will help the city through its water crisis.
He was the obvious headliner on a big day that included speeches by Governor Rick Snyder, Flint Mayor Karen Weaver, and a host of other well-known dignitaries. Now, we have team coverage of the president's speech, including how people are reacting to a key moment in it and what others say Flint needs to become whole again.
That's right. The underlying message of the day, Flint is not alone in its fight.
That I understood why you'd be afraid. Not just for yourself, but for your kids. I also wanted to come here, though, to tell you that I've got your back.
And that message was greeted with loud approval. President Obama telling the crowd at Flint Northwestern High School he feels the pain of Flint residents.
And I just had a chance to meet with a few of your neighbors in a roundtable discussion. And I heard from them what I know a lot of you are feeling. That a lot of you are scared. That all of you feel let down.
And many say let down by Governor Snyder, believing he's responsible for the water crisis. And they let him know it. But President Obama urged them not to let those feelings translate into mistrust of the government.
This myth that government's always the enemy. That forgets that our government is us. That attitude is as corrosive to our democracy as the stuff that resulted in lead in your water.
Obama said now the government has a responsibility to turn this man-made crisis around. The president believes it'll take a lot of working together from city leaders to the state and federal government.
And I said this to the mayor and the governor. I had them both in my car, the Beast. I told them I wasn't going to let either of them out until we figured this out. Had Secret Service surrounding everybody.
Before he wrapped up, President Obama offered encouraging words, reassuring residents that their kids are going to be okay.
They'll make it as long as we're there for them and looking after them and doing the right thing for them and giving them the resources that they need.
Well, there was a key moment during that speech when the president drank a glass of water, and that moment is getting mixed reviews.
That's right. Andrew Keller has more. He joins us live now in Flint. Drew.
Well, there are still some people very apprehensive about trusting the government. The proof I can give you, the reaction I got tonight when I asked them about President Obama taking a simple sip of water.
Can I get some water?
The president interrupted his speech and asked that simple question, a question that resonates well with the city of 100,000. They've been asking for the same thing for more than 2 years now.
I want a glass of water.
With the national spotlight on Flint, the president drank from a glass of filtered Flint water.
I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Water that he insists is safe, something Governor Snyder echoed a couple weeks ago.
If they tell me something, which I'm saying in front of all those cameras, turns out to be wrong, that person will not have a job.
But even with the president's sign of approval, some say they're not buying it.
I don't believe that the filtered water is working for us. I don't believe it at all.
You don't believe the president?
No. No, unfortunately not.
Right now, my trust in the government right now is completely plooped. Right now, I would not drink that water. I would not even wash my hands, my face in that water.
But others say the president's show of faith is exactly what this city needs.
For the community, it was just a healing time. We've got to heal. He encouraged us that there are powers within this community to revitalize itself and become stronger than ever. And I think that cup of water was a beginning of a way to say this is still a vital city in America, and we will get past this.
Thank you to the president for coming and doing that. That says a lot for sure.
And the president tried to regain some trust by saying that he's in this fight and he's got the people of Flint's backs. But one thing is clear, he still has a lot of work to do. Live in Flint, Andrew Keller, WNEM TV 5.
Okay, thank you, Drew, for that. And the people who spoke ahead of the president generally agree the state needs to step up.
But when the face of the state took the podium, it didn't go so well. An unwelcome greeting, Governor Rick Snyder uncomfortably fighting to speak to an unruly crowd.
I understand why you're angry and frustrated. I want to come here today to apologize, to say I'm sorry and I will fix this.
Not even 3 minutes, and Governor Snyder ended his remarks by saying he looked forward to the president's comments and was once again booed as he walked off the stage. After several minutes and a change in the atmosphere, Congressman Dan Kildee, who traveled with the president on board Air Force One, took the stage praising Mr. Obama's response to the crisis, but also throwing a punch.
We just need the resources to come from the folks, mostly, who did this to us.
Senator Debbie Stabenow reiterating that Flint residents did not cause this crisis, saying it's not their fault, and thanking President Obama for declaring Flint a state of emergency and bringing in federal resources.
Expanding Medicaid health care to virtually every child in Flint and pregnant moms. Funding for jobs and job training.
Flint Mayor Karen Weaver following that sentiment. Most important to her, she hopes this presidential visit shows the gravity of this crisis, meaning more state and federal dollars will start flowing into her city.
We didn't deserve what happened here, but we do deserve the resources to fix it.
Now you can watch President Obama's speech in its entirety on the TV5 homepage. And before we move on, we're learning one of the figures charged in the crisis may be key to the state's investigation into it. Flint Water Plant Administrator Mike Glasgow has pleaded no contest to a charge of willful neglect. Today, we caught up with Attorney General Bill Schuette, and he dropped a hint about Glasgow.
That we having negotiations with Mr. Glasgow, and then in the end, I think he'll be a forthcoming, reliable witness, and that'll help this whole investigation.
The judge in Glasgow's case will decide in August whether to accept his plea.
Well, a brighter day is on the way as you take this live look over Saginaw and Bay City this evening. Chief Meteorologist Brian Bachman is here with your forecast. Sunshine, Brian, on the way?
That's right, Colette. We're working the rain out of our systems as we speak. First Warn 5 Sky Tracker showing that very welcome trend after all those showers just kept rotating in around that low today. They're finally beginning to sink out of the region and dissipating also while they're doing so as the low pressure system kind of departs its way down into Indiana and Ohio, and most importantly of all, gets out of the picture. Now, as for tomorrow, we're going to start the day with a fair amount of cloud coverage in the morning. Send the kids off with a lighter jacket for the morning bus ride. 44 degrees. Won't need it for the evening or afternoon bus ride. 62 degrees. Most of us getting into those low 60s tomorrow afternoon and evening, which is great news for Little League Baseball. I know a lot of league games got rained out today. North Saginaw Township looking great for all games across the board. 5, 6, and 7 o'clock. Partly to mostly sunny. Temps mostly in the 60s. Just a bit breezy. Pretty much the same story in Grand Blanc. A little bit more sunshine where it'll be clearer, but pretty comfortable temperatures. Just a bit breezy again, as you can see. The rest of your week's forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Brian. Well, what price would you be willing to pay to get pregnant?
Hear the stories of 2 women in the final installment of a series called Conceiving Hope.
In controversy over a poster encouraging teenage girls not to dress provocatively. Are they responsible for boys' bad grades?
And tragedy on a university campus. Find out what cost a heroic student his life.